Hey guys, so I'm going to be explaining your first studio activity. Um, so I'm actually going to start by just from the home page, like navigating there. Um, so if you go to your home page and you go down to the bottom left corner, that's actually where your studio link is. And it takes you to your home page for your studio activities. You'll notice there are 5 activities that are kind of spaced around one a week for the term. The first studio activity is scattered, some or scaffolded. Some may be in the future also, and we'll get more into why when we kind of get into the activity. But you do have part of it due this Friday the 5th by midnight, and then the other part of it due by Sunday at midnight. So if you want to look through some of this at the top, it just kind of explains a little bit more about what studios are and how they're assessed. We have our own sort of day-to-day components. So we have the stuff we do in face-to-face classes, the modules that replace class. And we also have your homework and things like that. But again, all that stuff is kind of paced day-to-day. Whereas studios are a little bit different because they are kind of considered the lab component. And so there's sort of this independent other work that you're doing that builds into some of the work that we're doing in class. So there are places where you're going to be like exploring, doing other readings, discussions, possibly quizzes, videos especially. You're going to be kind of creating some things to help you practice. Some of this is going to be working with the portfolio, doing research, brainstorming, practicing some of the things that we're doing in class in kind of a separate space than just our day-to-day stuff. They're assessed pretty similarly to the other work that we do, complete, incomplete. The key difference is that it is something that usually the instructions will be online. I'll post directions. It'll support the things that we're working on in class, but it doesn't necessarily follow the same sort of pace. So what I'm going to do first is take you down to your first studio activity and open that up. So what you're going to be working on is something I call a thought letter. It's just sort of an explorative piece where it's essay-like, but you don't have to worry about whether or not you have a thesis statement or a good grammar or whether your thoughts are organized, as long as the person reading it can kind of make sense of what you're talking about. The goal is just to kind of think out and think through some of your ideas for what your inquiry topic might be, and to start thinking about things like what it is you already know, why you want to research it, what smaller questions might you be able to ask to kind of break down your research a little bit, what your biases might be coming into it. So the way this is going to work is the goal is to hone in on 1 to 2 potential ideas for your inquiry topic. So, of course, you're welcome to write about more than one thing. Keep it reasonable. The goal is to kind of be making a decision, but you're welcome to kind of weigh 1 or 2 ideas and use your peers to kind of weigh in on what they think will work or not. In terms of how the submission is going to work, you're going to draft this in a Google Doc, just like we talked about in class. Later in this activity, you're going to post that to a discussion with an assigned group. So the same way you did discussions previously, you're going to post a reply, except it's just going to be your shareable link, and then you're going to provide feedback on each other's ideas that way. Assessment, of course, do everything, read the rubric. I'm going to go on to the next slide, which is kind of just the directions for just the thought letter itself. So going to your Google Doc stored in your UWRT folder that we talked about today. And again, this is kind of more than a quick free write. It is 500 words, which is about 1.5 pages to 2 pages if you're thinking about it like Times New Roman, double-spaced, 12-point font. I have many prompts here that you can think about. You're welcome to bounce around. You don't have to go in any particular order as long as you cover everything. Please do not bullet point your thought letter. This is meant to be fluid, somewhat essayistic. So bullet points are kind of a no-go. Aside from that, there's very few kind of rules. So you're going to be answering questions like what you might be struggling with coming up with a topic, or even understanding what it is that we're doing. What primary issue you'd like to explore and why this issue matters, who it might matter for. So thinking about potential audience, people who are particularly interested or affected by what you want to research. Where you've observed this issue. So it could be in the news, magazines, documentary, maybe you have social observations you'd like to talk about, and thinking about places that you've either seen or observed this issue taking place is also a good place to start thinking about the two pieces of visual evidence or illustration of the problem that you need for your roundtable presentation. So while you're not required to include videos or images in your thought letter, it might be a good thing to start kind of thinking about, and you're welcome to add them if you come across some ideas for that. Also, what have you read or watched? In order to articulate what you're trying to figure out, you have to have read or know something. We've done some previous activities you might be able to pull from. I'm asking everybody to name and talk about at least 2 texts. And by text, it could be TED Talk, news. So if you haven't accessed something yet, or if you've changed your topic, then you need to go find something to talk about. Get on the Google. Find 2 things that you can talk about and pull in here, and I also included that in the requirements at the bottom of the page. Next thing is, what do you already know about this issue? Where did that knowledge come from? It's fine if you didn't know anything kind of coming into it. What experiences have you had? Again, if you don't have any personal experiences with it, it's fine, but it's a good thing to kind of be thinking about if you do have that. What specific questions do you have? We're going to work on the smaller questions a little bit more when we're in the library. So it's okay if this question is a little bit harder, but it's just kind of thinking about what do you need to know about this issue. So if you're researching an issue and you know there are perspectives that exist you don't know that much about, one of your questions might be to learn more about it. Or you might ask questions about events or laws or news. You did some practice with this in your Wikipedia activity, or will do some practice with this in your Wikipedia activity. So what are some things you need to figure out in order to answer your big question? What kinds of things do you expect to find during your research? You'll notice some of these questions sound eerily similar to some of the questions that are also in your roundtable presentation assignment sheet, the goal being that this helps you kind of prepare for that a little bit and answer some of those questions. What problems do you think you'll encounter? What perceived opinions, values are you kind of entering with? What other issues might you be considering? So you're welcome to start and go into like a separate issue you're thinking about. You're welcome to talk about 2 at the same time. It's really up to you how you want to tackle this. The last requirement that I haven't talked about yet is that you do need to provide hyperlinks to texts you discuss. So you should have 2, and I should have a link I can click on where I can go access that source and see what you were using. So on the next page is just a little note about why things are on 2 different dates. Because this is peer review, we've all been in groups before where people didn't carry their weight or posted work at the last minute when it's something like this where it's peer review and it's scaffolded. If everybody posts their draft or their paper at the last minute, nobody has time to provide commentary. Everybody's waiting, and then all of a sudden it's Friday night and everybody's just now posting their paper and there's no time to leave comments. So what this activity does is kind of scaffold it a little bit. So with that, your thought letter draft is due using the directions that are going to be in the discussion on the next slide or module page by this Friday. So 2 days. By 11:59 p.m. and it's just so that group members have time to get their comments in. And so everybody can have their comments in by Sunday, July 7th. On to the next page. Okay, so you're seeing my teacher view, so your page might look a little bit different because I see everybody's groups. They were randomly selected or generated through Canvas. So what you're going to be doing is posting your thought letter by providing the shareable link. There's a video here you can watch, so video within a video, to help you if you are having trouble with that. So you'll post your shareable link here by copying and pasting it into this box and hitting post reply. I'm not requiring you to write anything else with it unless you feel like you need to. If you're really struggling, you might make a note for your group members about what you really need help with if you're having trouble coming up with an idea, and maybe that can be something that they focus on, trying to help you with. So I'm going to go cancel that and go, well, I think I'm going to cancel it and then go back up to the top. So once you've posted that, step 2 is to access and respond to each of your peers by reading each draft actively. So leaving comments on the draft on their Google Doc. So you're going to select their link, pull up their Google Doc, and comment on their ideas. So you can do that in the margins. You can do it at the end of the note at the end. You can mix and match. Just make sure I know who you are. So you should be signed in automatically, but if you're writing a note at the bottom of their draft, you may have to sign your name to it. Here are some things you should note. Where you think their focus is, or a direction you think they could go in with their research, which ideas you like the best if maybe they're deciding between 2 things, maybe one you think seems more interesting to them, maybe one they seem less biased about, maybe one you think there's probably more, honestly, like more research or current information out there, maybe one is problematic for some reason. Ask questions about the issue. You might ask them something that they haven't thought of yet or even new to ask that might help them along the way. Share knowledge, opinions, experiences. So if you have an opinion or a gut reaction, or you have knowledge or you have experiences, share that, because hearing other people's experiences can help. Hearing other people's opinions can help, even though we don't like to hear them. And if you already know something about this issue or have a source you could share with them, that could really be helpful also. Or any concerns you see. Maybe you do notice that there's a lot of bias that the writer doesn't seem to notice that they have. Or it's too narrow or broad, or it's something on the ban list that they're not supposed to be doing, or you see something else that you could say that might be able to help them along the way. And that is it for this activity. So writing your thought letter, posting it, and then providing commentary to your peers. You do have to complete all the steps timely in order to get a complete for this activity. But just email me, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys on Monday.